What's going on, good people? Go ahead and share this out with somebody. Good evening, good evening to anyone that's watching, everyone that's watching, and you that's watching. Appreciate you coming on today for this series called Help. This is a virtual series that I have going on the Josh Reese Show every Tuesday and Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm so glad that you have decided to watch the rebroadcast or come in live with me. As people are coming in, I just want to give thanks to Almighty God for just being everything. He is all. He is great and greatly to be praised. And because of that, I got to say thank you. You know, he gives me my life, health, and strength, and I could not get through the day had it not been for God. Those of you all that are coming on, we're going to talk about tonight about two good things that we need to discuss and we need to be very transparent about: grief and co-parenting. Co-parenting. I'm actually going to start off with the co-parenting first, but go ahead, those of you all, go on the Josh Reese Show, follow me on there, or stay on the personals page, the Josh Reese page. Either way, guess what? We're going to talk about these things, and I want you to go ahead and send me your comments or what have you. Let's talk. Let's talk because I know something about co-parenting, and I want to be as transparent as I can tonight. This help series is to help somebody to be able to look at things a little bit wider, a little bit deeper, help you have a consensus on what really is going on when it comes to co-parenting. Because co-parenting, first of all, is when the two parents are not together, but yet they are working to raise the children separately but together. So they're assisting. So they're cooperating. So we have two cooperating parents. But unfortunately, let's be honest, sometimes we don't see co-parenting like that. Sometimes the co-parenting is really terrible. And that's where we get into the baby mamas and the baby daddies. Y'all know about that? I'm somebody's quote unquote baby daddy, but don't call me baby daddy. My son is 21, and he and me and his mother and I, we don't really have to speak right now in a sense, but we do at times that are necessary. But during the 21 years of his life, part of that we were married, and then the remainder, of course, we were not married, and things were not always peaches and cream. Things were not always great. Things were not always happy and all that. One of the things that was decided by our judge in the divorce is that we would have, they asked her, as far as how was I as a father, and she said he's an excellent father. He's an excellent father. And so they also asked her, did she want child support? She said no. And so for those years, I have not had to give child support. But how many people know just because you don't give the quote unquote child support don't mean you stop supporting the child. You have to support the child. The child is everything. The child needs you. The child needs to make sure that it's being taken care of. And what's happening in these days is we have so many people feuding because they're not lovey-dovey like they were at one time. They're not intimate like they were at one time. They're not into each other like they were at one time. And the co-parenting gets rough because now we see things differently because we're not gazing at each other. We're not lusting after each other. We're not trying to get in each other's bed and get in each other's pants and all of that. But what we're trying to do now is control one another on how we're going to raise this child because I feel the child needs to be raised this way. I feel the child needs to be raised this way. I feel the child needs this. Well, I feel the child needs that. And that's what happens in the battle of co-parenting sometimes when we're not on the same page. There were many days that we were not on the same page, but one thing we were on the same page is that he needed to be raised in a God-fearing environment, raising him up in the same faith, belief, also principles. Many of the principles we did agree on. Schools, at times we did not agree, but we had in school and we would work out some things, and many times my son getting them back and forth, and one time he just stayed, his school was right down the street from my house, and so get dropped off, depending, might be at his mom's, and then they'll drop him off or what have you. But what happens is that if the co-parenting, if there's not an agreement between you two, meaning written or just verbal, or a complete understanding on how to raise this child, it is going to bring grief. That's why the show is entitled Grief and Co-Parenting, because co-parenting can be grieving. Because if we're not on the same page, we're not believing the same thing, we're not for the same goal. If I call it tomatoes, you call it tomatoes, you call it potatoes, I call it potatoes, we're going to forever be at other neck, and we're warring like the roses. And here we are bringing all this division, and the child is suffering. And not only is the child suffering, we're suffering in our own way. We're in grief because it's so heavy. It's hitting us upside the head. It's bothering us. It's literally stabbing us. Many of us are losing sleep. And now we're at all with one another. We don't like the child's mother. And I don't like that term baby daddy and baby mama. I used it in the beginning to just introduction, but that is your child's mother. That is your child's father. We have to learn that we're gonna co-parent. We're gonna need to make some adjustments that actually are fair. We have to understand that respect has to be given across the board, regardless of our beliefs, regardless of even sometimes what the truth is. There needs to be a certain layer of respect so that child will be covered and don't have to experience certain things as they grow up, because what happens is that child becomes affected through the words you say, how you putting down that father, how you putting down that mother. And a lot of times I hear a lot about fathers being put down, but we're not talking about how the mothers are being put down. And many times you're saying it bold in front of the child. You're saying it to the child, and the child loves their parent. And instead of creating a environment where the child can just experience love and make his decision and grow and see things as they go, yes, you concerned about the hurt, you concerned about things that bother them and affect them. And yes, when you don't keep your word, I understand all that. But you have a part to play in it. You have to give a certain layer of covering for that child so that child does not have to experience division the wrong way. Meaning, uphold that parent, have good conversation, find a way to create a common ground, or even to the point, if you need a mediator, get one. Get one for that, because if not, you're gonna grieve. You're gonna grieve. You're gonna lose sleep. You're gonna be, watch this. You're gonna be in a relationship talking about your child's father or talking about the child's mother. And then Buddy or Missy ain't gonna like that. This is always a topic. This is always coming up because this is what's grieving you. The past is grieving you. The hurt is grieving you. The shame you went through is grieving you. And now that you all are parents together, that's grieving. I wish I never had this child with them. I wish they weren't the baby mother. I wish they weren't the baby's father. I wish this, I wish that. And we have all these ill wishes instead of realizing what can we agree with. There's somebody that you both can turn to. There's somebody that can help you both out. Excuse me. And we have to learn that in this process called co-parenting, we have to be united at the point where we have to agree to disagree, and then we have to come with some camaraderie, come with some level place or playing field that the child can see that we want the child to win. They can see a healthy relationship between you and the father or you and the mother. When I look back at some things over raising my son, there's some things I would have done differently because there was a lot of immaturity, even as a minister of God and what have you. Um, there still was a layer of immaturity because this is a fresh place. It's a place I've never been. I have a one biological child, but I have raised several children in my lifetime through either a marriage um, or relationship. Nieces, nephews, what have you, you had a part to play, working in the school, um, helping father um, be that covering for that child, and even as pastor, you many times end up fathering children by covering them as a pastor, as a leader. And what happens is if we stay carnal minded and get wrapped in our emotions, we'll let song lyrics, we'll let movies, we'll let people's opinions and what other people dictate. And the thing about it is you haven't taken out the time to really count up the cost. You haven't taken up the time to really dig deep and find out how can we get along? How can we get to this thing? How can we do better? So these are some things that we have to consider, you all. And this is just part one of this. Thursday, I'm going to do part two because the relationship between you and that child's parent, which would be the mother or the father. If your mother watching, the relationship with you and the father. If your father watching, the relationship with you and the mother is very important because if you don't find a good place for you all to raise that child, you're going to grieve. And grief does not always have to be something dealing with death. Grief can be the fact that you got a negative situation, you got a heaviness that's forever burdening uh, is a burden upon you, and now you got to deal with it. You had a one night stand, and now you got a child out of it. You had someone that promised to love you, and now you have a child out of it. You all have to agree on how you're gonna raise that child, and then you have that place. Well, what do we do when the person don't want nothing to do with the child? You continue to find a way to bring a united front for the sake of that child. Don't downcast that other parent. Don't do it. I learned this a long time ago. You'll hear me mention Reverend Dr. J.C. Wade Jr. a lot. J. Wade Ministries, I want to throw a shout out to them because um, Dr. Wade and Mrs. Wade, which I call mom and dad, who have pastored for one church for 45 years, been married more for over 53 years. They have a lot to say about parenting. And one of the things they say is don't talk against the other parent to the child, because you don't know what they're already dealing with inside. Even though they may tell you some stuff, there's some other stuff they're thinking about. And so if they ask, why is my daddy not around? Why is my mama not around? And say, I'm. Sometimes you have to, when they even tell you, I don't want to be bothered with the child. Well, you know what? They have a disagreement with me, and with that, I'm hoping that things will be better. At this time, they're going through some stuff. Now, when they get older, you have to go and break it down, but you should seek advice, seek some type of counseling, because the child needs their father just like the child needs the mother. And but Pastor, what do you do when they don't want to be there? Man, I'm gonna tell you this: you have to pray. You have to really seek some guidance, because what you don't want to do is to communicate with that child with a haughty heart, with an anger, with bitterness, because you're still upset about what didn't happen or what didn't stay or what didn't last, especially if that person has moved on. Many of us have been dealing with the fact about that person move on, and then we're not even getting into blended families. Woo. Blended relationships where there's other children, and now they feel like you're doing the other children better than you're doing the child that you all parent together. It's a lot. It's a lot. And it will cause you to be in a state of grief. And grief is real. J Way Ministries always says that grief is real. And I want to tell you all, don't be afraid to ask somebody for help. Now, y'all young mothers seeking advice from the other young mothers, hold on. Go seek some advice from some older women. Find someone that's got some war scars in the game. Find someone who has been there, done that. Um, Find someone who can honestly, they can guide you, and maybe they haven't been there, done that, but nevertheless, they can lead you in a positive way so you can do what is best for the co-parenting. Even though y'all not together no more, even though you're not boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, and wife, you're still parents. And because you're still parents, we have to make sure we're doing what's best for the child. If I can do it all over again, I would have sought counseling so I could do what's best for my son. Um, I would ask his mother to go ahead, let us counsel, let's get some counseling so we can get a coach, someone that coach us through this, that's a parent and that we both can trust and confide in, and then they will lead us in these decisions that we have to make instead of us being at each other's throat. So many different dynamics when it comes to co-parent. Who's going to pick up the kid? Who's going to drop off the kid? One of the things I did in co-parenting is that I refused to have certain debates. So I had my own clothes. I had my own diapers. I had my own formula. I had my own bottles. I had my own stroller. I had my own baby carrier, car seat, the whole nine. I had my own. The one thing we agreed with was the doctor. Well, one thing we did agree with, the formula. What we did agree with is the diapers, how we would change him, and those different dynamics. There were some things we did not agree with. As when to allow our child to start eating certain foods. Where one felt, hey, we can eat it then. And then we ain't gonna talk about grandparents. Because grandparents, y'all can come mess everything up. Giving that baby Pepsi before it's time. Giving them some Coke, Coca-Cola. That not Coke, but you know what I'm saying. The red can. Giving them that before it's time. I'm just gonna put it around their gums. No, it's too early. I'm I'm gonna give them this. I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna do that. They need this. We could get some sugar water. Hold on. Let us make sure we're on the same page with that. And so tonight, that's what I wanted to give. I want to get that off my chest, and we'll go for part two on this Thursday. I want y'all to join me every Tuesday and Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Last week was chaotic. So much going on, and I said, hey, I'm not going to be able to do either show, but I'm here tonight. We got to talk about it because, see, here's the thing. We got to be there for our children. And even when they get grown, we got to show some type of camaraderie. So one of the things, and I'm going to end it at this, I made sure my son, I pushed, even though, I pushed, make sure he was having a relationship with his mother. Now, if he did, that's on him, but I always made sure I checked in. Did you call your mother, and did you, check up on her or what have you? Because you're forever teaching. They're forever growing and learning. Think about yourself. You're forever evolving. You're always learning. There's always growth. It could be stagnant growth, or it can be quick growth. It could be progressive growth, but you're growing. And I wanted to make sure I never forget my son forgot his mother's birthday, and I got upset at him. I said, "Hey man, it's your mama. Um, you don't do that." And when we were together, I remember her birthday. I bought her gifts and what have you. But my son is something different. He was very young when we separated, but I was part of the process, giving him things to give to his mother as time go on. But we still have to co-parent to teach and groom our children to remember the other, regardless of your communication. Remember the other parent, because they have to build that relationship with them, and the other parent must build the relationship with the child. And what I need to do is not interfere with the building. I need to make sure that I protect him. I protect the child, but I'm not going to interfere with the child's relationship with the other parent. If there's something that's off, I'll say something to the parent, but I'm not going to bust that parent out in front of the child. You don't want to do that, because that child will end up checking that parent and not respecting them when they should have. Hope it makes sense to you. Listen, hope you all enjoyed tonight. Be with me each and every Tuesday and every Thursday at the 5 p.m. hour. And let's talk about this thing called grief and co-parenting. I'm going to be part of part two on next week. And I want you to be part of that with me, okay? So until we meet again, go in peace, go with God, shine your light. Take care, y'all. Work!